So last week, during the divisional round of the NFL playoffs, it was announced that had the Bills beat the Bengals, which they didn't, and had the Chiefs won against Jacksonville, which they did, that they would have played at a neutral site. That neutral site would have been in Atlanta. Now, with that said, it got me, and I'm sure it got a lot of people thinking, especially after the conference championship of the NFC that just ended, and depending on how you feel of the way it went and whether or not the officials played a role or not, or whatever the case may be, it got me and a lot of people thinking, and I'm sure it's going to get a lot of people thinking even after the AFC title game, which is about to begin, is over. It got me and I'm sure a lot of people thinking, could neutral sites be the answer in the future when it comes to these conference title games? I mean, we know, with the exception of the past 2 years, that neutral sites for the Super Bowl have, played a factor. And that factor is that it allows the players on the field to determine who is the best. That is a fact. Now, the past 2 years, we could chalk that up to COVID. The NFL could tell you otherwise. But the reality is, chalk it up to COVID and everything forcing their hand. So we pretty much could agree on that. But with that said, majority of the time, neutral sites have proven to, actually work out. Actually be a benefit for all teams involved. Now, the officials, I will admit, that's another factor. But majority of the time lately, even with these home field, Super Bowls for the Rams and the Buccaneers and all that, the referees have been neutral. They basically have been chosen as being unbiased. So it really gets you to be, curious about the fact of if the NFL and Roger Goodell, who's from Philadelphia, and that also throws in a lot of speculation too about, the biased officiating, if you will, in the NFC title game, it makes you wonder if maybe Roger Goodell, I should say, and the NFL, board of directors and the NFL Players Association should consider basically doing neutral sites for the conference title games. That way everybody is on equal footing. You don't have a loud, biased, very biased home field crowd distracting the visitors, either way. And basically, it gives both teams a fair shot. And to allow the better team to hopefully come out on top, depending on who that would be. So I look at the fact, honestly, that, I believe neutral sites would be the answer. And not only would it be an answer to avoid any controversies or anything like that, when it comes to things like, are the officials in the pockets of the home team, or did the commissioner who's from the town of the home team pay them off and all that? It in a way eliminates that, potential theory, sort of, if you will, but beneficiary-wise, financially, it's a boom for whatever city gets to host that conference title game. Because just like the Super Bowl throughout the week, is a big boom financially for the city that hosts it, you have to really consider that if they allow conference title games to be at neutral sites, it becomes a boon for that city. I mean, when you look at the conference title games in college football, and even conference tournaments, at the end of college basketball, they're always at neutral sites. And because they're at neutral sites, it allows for anybody that's a fan of certain teams, or both teams, I should say, to have a chance to be there for be there for support. You look at things like the Pac-12 championship in college football, and the Big 12 championship, and the SEC championship. And basically, they're always played at neutral sites. And you'll notice a majority of the time that neutral site, isn't as rambunctious or loud or anything because it's equaled out. It's equaled out. Now, you might say, well, it all depends on where that neutral site is located. That's true. But majority of the time, it's equaled out. And that's a fact. That's a fact. I mean, you look at the national championship game this year between Georgia and TCU. Yeah, Georgia annihilated TCU. I'm not going to deny that. But it was an unbiased crowd. It was unbiased. It was equaled out. So to me, long story short, I think neutral sites are the future. I think the NFL should look into neutral sites from here on in, so that everybody gets a fair shake, and there's no distraction by the very biased home crowd that the conference title game would be taking place in. It gives everybody a chance to shine. It offers less distractions, and if you look at it from, the officials get paid off deal, the officials, yeah, they might still end up in that situation or in that conversation, depending on the outcome, but it would basically lessen the opportunity of that happening because they wouldn't, because basically they'd be on a neutral site. And both teams and even the fans in attendance would be able to say, hey, you didn't make that call when they should have, or why'd you make that call when they shouldn't have, kind of deal. So basically, I think it opens up a huge opportunity for a lot, for the NFL in the long run. Not just to avoid any more controversies and everything in the future, but to also financially open up things for not just the league itself, but for the cities that would host it, like I said. Because the Super Bowl, it's going to do big boom business, if you will, for Glendale/Phoenix, Arizona. You know that. It's going to do some big business for them. There's no doubt. So you can't tell me that a place like, Santa Clara, that might be, biased territory if the 49ers get back there next year, which they will. But still, you look at like Santa Clara, or you look at Inglewood, you look at San Antonio. San Antonio might be a place that's neutral. They don't have an NFL team. So that might be a neutral site. And Atlanta, places like Atlanta, or where else? Where else would be a neutral site? New Orleans, the Superdome. Those could be neutral sites for the AFC. I look at it this way. You use an AFC, if you're going to do a neutral site for conference championships, you do it in stadiums you do it in massive stadiums like, let's say, the Alamo Dome, that have no NFL team, but does host football. So you could do it there, if you will, for, let's say, either the AFC or the NFC. Or you could choose an NFC stadium for the AFC and an AFC stadium for the NFC. One that's not in use if the team is either already out of the playoffs, or they just got eliminated or whatever. So that to me is the best option if you're going to do the neutral site. And again, I think it would be a benefit to any of the cities that do it, and a benefit to the NFL, and everything, because of the fact that, again, like I said, it avoids possibly any other future controversy. That's just my opinion. But let me know what your thoughts are. How do you feel about the idea of the NFL hopefully maybe during the offseason considering doing neutral sites, for conference championship games to go along with, of course, the neutral site of the Super Bowl? What are your thoughts? Let me know Let me know down below in the comments, as well as in the live chat during the premiere. Like the video. You will get an audio podcast version of this later. But guys, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it in the end? Do you think it would work? I think it would, honestly, because like I said, I think it would be a benefit for everyone all around. It would lessen any more controversies, stuff like that, any potential biasness by officials, if that's the case. But give me your thoughts. Live chat during the premiere, like I said, like the video. And until next time, guys, I am out.